Taraba State Deputy Governor Aminu Alkali has announced an expansion of the state's social safety net to support more vulnerable individuals. Speaking in Jalingo, the state capital, during the disbursement of 524 million naira to 10,409 beneficiaries, Alkali emphasized the state's commitment to alleviating the sufferings of vulnerable households through livelihood grants. Alkali expressed confidence that Taraba would soon see no vulnerable individuals, citing the successful distribution of grants to 2,680 youths and women in previous phases. The third phase, targeting 10,449 beneficiaries across all 16 local government areas and 2 special development areas, aims to boost small and medium enterprises and revitalize the local economy. He urged beneficiaries to use the funds wisely. State Commissioner for Cooperative and Poverty Alleviation, James Habu, added that beneficiaries received between 50,000 naira each, with previous phases distributing 101.9 million naira and 100 million naira respectively. Habu assured that the government remains dedicated to eradicating poverty and supporting the economy. Is this a move really to eradicate poverty?
Yes, anything you do to reduce unemployment and hardship is also a move to eradicate poverty. You know, sometimes those who are very theoretical, they will tell you it's not a good,
move. So you're more practical.
Yes. You know, in the north, like in Taraba, for instance, if you have 50,000 naira, there are businesses you can start and still survive. You know, so I think the governor have done well, and I commend that gesture. Now, you see, they gave it a very wonderful name, and they gave it as a grant, not as a loan. You know, so if you have 50,000 naira and you reside in Taraba State, there's no way you wouldn't be able to start up a little small-scale business, and that can begin to aid you. One, it will create employment for you. 2, it can assist the welfare of your economy, of your family. So I think the governor has done well, and I'm glad that he's taking it phase by phase. Now that he's doing the little he can, is he complaining that there's no money for projects? Because this is what every reasonable government ought to do. Welfare of her citizens must be intentionally seen as a project. The only project that we have is not just by building industries. It's not just about, when you talk about industries that has to do with revenue generation, creation of employment, because this is the target of industry. So if you give individuals money to start up businesses, it's also an industry. So, but some people misunderstand when you talk about giving funds to citizens. It's like, how do you share money and all that? Nigerians are not dummy. You must not just say, until you create factory, before you can say that you want to alleviate poverty.
Okay, when you talk about development, it's not just about building industries or building factories or building roads. There are various other things. In fact, road, first of all, is one of them, because it will help aid the businesses. Now, we'll also talk about electricity. Now, imagine being given 50,000 naira to start up a business. I don't know what business they might be able to start, but they are different individuals, so they can think about what they can start. But then, these basic things that would aid the business not being on ground, paying so high for electricity, or, you know, other things that will aid the business, like I said, that are basic not being on ground. So how do you even balance it at the end of the day? You find out that that money at the end of the day might not serve its purpose.
Well, you are speaking from the context of your development and mindset.
The same way you're speaking from the context of your mindset.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, the point here is 50,000 naira, someone who resides in Taraba State can start up a business. For instance, you can start up a POS business. You can start up a fruit business. You can start up a shoemaker business. I can keep naming them and keep naming them on and on. But the challenge here is that because of our level of development and our level of social exposures, we feel that 50,000 naira is nothing in starting any business. But because I understand from the entrepreneurial point of view that if your mindset is about income generation, any amount you have, you can start up a business within that resources that you have. You cannot have 50,000 naira and you are thinking about starting up, a business that will require you to pay a huge amount of rent, that will require you to begin to pay bills. No, not at all. So, and there are some of them too that these grants are giving. Some of them are already doing something. So that resources can only complement what they are doing, strengthen their businesses. Not that all of them are idols. So I think 50,000 naira in state like Taraba is a good one.
Have you been to Taraba State?
Well, I've visited quite a number of states in the north, so I can understand the lifestyle over there.
What is the lifestyle you're making reference?
The lifestyle over there is not very expensive like here. So, and their mindset too over the usage of resources is not as very big and demanding the way we have it here. So there are people with a very moderate kind of lifestyle.
Now, that explanation that I actually gave was because of what you stated, that some Nigerians feel that they must build, factories and industries.
Exactly.
And I had to explain to you
exactly.
where they are actually coming from and the ideologies that they have. And most of the time, those ideologies have come to the table. Is not only when we have projects like this in the north. We also had the other time when the Senate President Ababi actually was in Port Harcourt, when he mentioned that was during the protest, when he told them, when they're protesting, you understand that Nigerians held on to that statement. But then he was also talking about 50,000 naira that will be distributed to 10,000 youths. And I guess that was when we actually had a heated argument here concerning the 50,000 naira being distributed instead of being used. And aside that, why 50,000 naira? People saw it as a slap on the faces of the Niger Delta youths, telling us, Niger Delta youths, that you're going to give 50,000 naira. And that was when a guest here said he would use 50,000 naira for a pot of soup. But then, moving on, don't you see, I know you're on this other side, but don't you see in any way a point in this, on this other part where they say, why don't you provide the jobs instead? We're going to have more households being involved in that. One-time payment of 50,000 naira will go into other things. You give a man who is hungry 50,000 naira. The truth is, the first thing that he would do is to feed his family.
You see, you have a very vital point. People are entitled to their opinion. But I can tell you that the government of Taraba State, which is the case study right now, that is given this 50,000 grant to her citizens, is not in any way saying that we are no longer building factories. It's not in any way saying that our industries will shut down. But no matter the level of industries that the government builds, it can't employ everybody. That's the truth. So people must understand that there are people who have business ideas, but they lack resources to start. So if you have a business idea and the government is aiding you or supporting you with the little you have, it's not a bad thing. So I want to say that even here, if you have 50,000 naira, you can start up a groundnut business. You can start up a fruit business. Even the POS I talked about in the north. You can start up a fish business. If you go to the markets that we go to buy food items, you agree with me that most of the traders there, their products are not more than 30,000-50,000. But at least they are earning a living out of it. So the mindset of we must have millions, hundreds of thousands, because before we can start anything, is something that most of us are discouraging.
But you're one of the advocates for millions being distributed to Nigeria.
Of course. Why I talk about millions for the southern Nigeria. And because I talked about it because I feel that what government is doing in terms of investment in infrastructures and thereabout is not really meeting the immediate needs of the people.
So you don't think in the north they need that kind of money?
I am only applauding the little the government.
No, you said you talked about millions for the southern part of Nigeria.
No, yes, and I said like 500 for the northern state. Now, if the governor has started with something, it should be commended. Now, it means that as they review their resources, it can improve. I didn't say that should be the benchmark. I didn't say it's the best, but I said with the little he has given, someone who wants to be, productive in his or her life can start up something. You know, if we're not here to share our testimonies and the stories of what we have done while trying to grow up. So I think there are several things that someone can do. It's a mindset thing. By the time you feel that you are too big to do a POS business, I'm too big to sell granite, I'm too big to sell ice cream, I'm too big to sell water.
We want to send all Nigerian youths into selling granites and menial jobs.
No. It's not everybody. There are so many people who are also engaged. We are talking about those who have nothing to do.
What about investing more into their intellectual capacity? Don't you think that's going to yield more than these things you're mentioning?
Okay, let me come again. If you talk about intellectual, I do not understand the area you are coming.
Okay,
but
now,
I would like to say
that
you know that we have thousands of graduates who have no job right now.
Exactly.
So it's not about the intellectual, what do you call it, investment. Nigerians have already been, heavily invested on intellectual.
Okay, let me break it down so that you get where I'm coming from. When you talk about intellectual capacity, you're looking at, if you take a young man and you empower him, right? It's more than just giving him 50,000 naira to go and do a business or to go and start a menial, job or something. There is more that individual can give back. Hold on. There is more that individual can give back to the society. Look at what technology is doing these days. Look at some of these big companies. Look at Facebook. That is one man's ideology. And there are thousands of Nigerians who have these amazing ideas that if they're being empowered at the moment, they can give back to the society a whole lot. So when we talk about empowering youth, empowering Nigerians, it's more than giving them 50,000. The world has gone beyond what we're talking about. The world has gone beyond just sitting down somewhere with an umbrella and trying to sell sweets.
Well, I want to also bring back to history and records that the instances you gave are very wonderful, but Govt was not funded by the government of United States.
Does that mean we should not fund our own people?
Mark, everybody who is into technological development, especially the Facebook, the Zoom, WhatsApp, different platform that is revenue generating to those individuals that have come up with those innovative. We are not funded by government.
Now imagine such platforms being funded by government or being partnered with government. Imagine the funds and the revenue that will come into the economy.
No, you see, you must start something.
You think Nigerians have not started?
You see, when you start, one thing I do not want to do all the time is to do a blame game. Because I know entrepreneurs who have succeeded outside government funding.
Of course.
Now, what you need for you to strive and succeed in any of your endeavor, number one is your vision, is your commitment. Now, when you have a vision, before you talk about partnership may not just be with government. There are individuals who have the resources that are looking for ways of investing. We have organizations that you can partner with. So for me, government is always the last because I do not want to blame my father for my challenges. So
nobody's blaming the government. But I'm saying, imagine the government invests in such empowerment. Imagine what it will bring in or bring back for the economy.
You see, I do also understand that there are times that if you want to talk about IT or ICT, I know that there are times that different governments at different levels have as well also organized training for her citizens.
Of course.
And the question is those whom they have trained, because you are talking about intellectual empowerment right now. What's the result out of it? So what we are looking at is the many Nigerians, what they need right now is cash. Because they have the ideas, they have the business ideas.
So when they need cash, is 50,000 naira. That's the cash Nigerians need.
It is measured now. The people, I have told you here that the level of empowerment differs. There are different programs to access grants, access loan from government. Like Rivers State government, they have an agency responsible for business skill empowerment, where you write your, visibility studies, and then they look at your business proposals and plan, and then see how they can fund you, see the business arrangement, and they fund you. So that one is beyond 50, 100,000 naira. So, but in this case where they're looking at immediate, if you feel that your business idea is bigger than 50,000 naira, you have sent yourself when it is time. So those who actually need it, those who in Rumukuta market, in Ozoba market, in Rumokuro market, Maitre market, 50,000 naira would boost their business. I'm talking about those here. Those who intend to also do those kind of petty businesses, at least it's better than none.
When you look at how much the government gets to spend, when you put all these people together that were given 50,000 naira, and then you imagine that that money was invested in another way. I'm telling you how some Nigerians see this, right? I'm not telling you my stand.
I know, you're not saying,
I don't have a stand here, but I'm telling you the other side of the picture, since you're already coming from this side of the picture. Now, this is how some people see it. When look at the amounts that was mentioned, that was used. 10,000 people were given this, thousands of people. Put it all together and imagine that money is invested properly. That would get to impact the lives of those people in a longer term, other than just that once, distribution of 50,000 naira.
What most of us do not understand as Nigerians is that these grants that are given, social aid is done globally. In America, you have social aid. In fact, that is where most of these things are borrowed. So it's not as if it's a primitive idea. These are government intentional interventions to aid low-skilled entrepreneurs, those who feel that they need to start up something. So it's not as if it's a primitive idea. It's done globally. So I want to feel that government giving this kind of grant has no any way stopped the creation of industries. It must not be that little one, of course, even if they create an industry right now, how many will it employ? So my own is that I'm advocating for the uneducated Nigerians, those who cannot have those opportunities, because even if those industries we are talking about, employment is also politicized. So, but I'm always saying that these little resources that should be given to those, the poorest of the poor in our country, should not be condemned because you are educated, because you are a civil engineer, because you have a electrical engineer. You are looking for avenues government must invest so that you can be engaged. You are not also considering the man who couldn't go to school.
Then pick him up and send him to school.
So what we are saying is, no, with time they will also, not everybody mustn't go to school. If you are an entrepreneur, you mustn't go to the university.
Exactly.
So the point we are trying to say is that it's an intentional intervention that government wants to do so that the average poorest of the poor in Nigeria that wants to start up a mini business, can start. And I want to say that 50,000 naira is not useless, but it can be improved upon. Government can add more. So that others who falls in other categories can also start up something according to their business idea. But to say it's not meaningful, no, it is meaningful. It is useful. I commend the governor of Taraba State, and I want you to do more. Another state you also borrow leave. And those who have also received these resources, I'd like you to understand that it's not money that is meant for food. It's not money meant for, you can starve yourself for a moment for a better future. So it's not a question of, I want to cook I don't know the person that said 50,000 naira pot of soup. It must be somebody who is gainfully employed or whose business has grown. But it's not somebody who is trying to make a future and they give you 50,000 naira and your brain tells you that you need to go and buy the biggest fish in the market, because you want to cook a big soup.
All right, Ambassador, thank you so much for your thoughts on that story.